Hello guys, and welcome to a new Warno video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I have for you game one of two games of myself versus Meddi in Division 1 of the Warno League. We're going to be playing on Airport Duel, and in this one I'm using the 5th Panzerdivision, and Meddi chose the 27th Guards after picks and bans. If you'd like to check the picks and bans, I'll make sure to leave them in the description. We're finally back to the Warno League. The previous Warno League went really well for me. I played in Division 2, and I actually won Division 2 completely, which was awesome. Now I'm going to be playing in Division 1. Protos came to me and was like, do you want to go in Division 2 or do you want to go in Division 1? And I was like, you know what? Let's just go in the deep end with all the best players straight into Division 1. I haven't really been playing 1v1 much at all, but we'll see how it goes. So here I am up against Meddi, well known for his aggressive play and CV flanking. So let's have a quick look at what I'm getting down. At the front, I've got some Jäger Aufklärer. One to go to the left side here, one to the centre. I've got a Fernspeer that's going to be using this tree line to get recon over the centre of the map. Then I've got an Aufklärer that's going to be moving up on the right hand side. Following that up, I've got a couple of Fliegerfaust moving to the right hand side to potentially deal with enemy helicopters. I've got a Jäger that's also going to be helping there with infantry support. Fliegerfaust, lots of Fliegerfaust spreading out at the start. I was really worried about the Mi-24K, so just making sure to have that potentially locked down. Jäger going to be following up with a Milan 2. I've also got the Führungs, of course, to make sure that I capture some sectors early on so I don't get behind on control points. Then we have a Roland 3 coming up, and a Leopard 1A5, and a Jäger. And yeah, pretty much the reason that I'm investing into so much AA is because I was really worried about, like I said, the Mi-24K, which is quite a common thing that players use to start with, and potentially as Air Force. Because what I wanted to do was build up a solid line of AA, so that I could then follow it up with my heavy tanks. Like, I'm playing the 5th Panzer Division, I've got Leopard 2A4s, I've got Leopard 2A3s, and they are really the backbone of any serious push that the 5th Panzer Division is going to make. I do, of course, have Marders, which are very good as well, useful fire support, but yeah, the main backbone of your pushes is going to be your tanks, and your tanks are vulnerable to those helicopters and to those aircraft, so making sure that I shut those down is really super important. So the Aufklärer is moving up on the right hand side. You can see that I've left it on neutral perspective so you guys can see what Meddi is up to as well, because I think it's really interesting to kind of explore what my opponent was doing and how I'm reacting to it. So early on you might notice that I deployed my Jäger Aufklärer really short. The reason I did this is because I didn't want to hit him at the 50-50. I was also still worried about those helicopters, and it's going to take a little while for the man-pads to catch up, so deploying the Jäger Aufklärer short was important, and now just going to be unloading the Jägers and then potentially pushing up. And you can see that we both deployed very conservatively. I really expected to bump into him at this junction, but it turns out that he also deployed really short here, and so we're now both preparing to make our pushes back toward each other. He is pinging all of the locations where he's seen things, which is interesting to see. Obviously keeping an eye on what's going on so that in future he kind of has an idea of where things are. And he's going to be capturing his sectors with the BMP-2K. Now the interesting thing about this map that I realized is that on his side of the map he can just drive Alpha and Zulu. Is that Zulu? It is Zulu. Alpha and Zulu, and capture those very quickly, whereas for me I have to go Papa and then drive all the way over to Bravo in order to capture those at the start. I could have maybe brought in 2 commands early on, but what this does lead to is a +1 for him early on, so that's not ideal, but just going to be trying to get that over here as quickly as possible. Führungs, nice fast command unit, and everything seems pretty chill on the front line so far. Nobody's making any serious moves. I'm just thinking about getting the 2nd Roland 3 in so that I can shut down his Air Force, and the Su-17 comes overhead, Going to get hit by the Roland 3. Fliegerfaust miss, of course. They are man-pads. And now I'm going to be bringing in an Apache. So I saw the Motorradwerke and the BMP-2 on this right-hand side. And I saw the Spetsnazradwerke also move across the open thanks to my Jaeger Aufklärer. So I'm going to be trying to react to that with the Apache. Apache really, really good in this sort of situation where there's like limited AA on the flanks. So I'm going to be trying to get the Apache rockets on target of the Spetsnazradwerke, potentially the Motorradwerke as well. The Jaeger currently trying to kill off the BMP-2. Unimog obviously going to be sold, and the Otis Führungs meanwhile currently zooming around to try and get a cap into the middle sector because I know he's going to be going for the mid cap as well. So spotting the Spetsnazradwerke with the Alouette, taking that out. I know that he's probably going to respond with some aircraft, so I'm bringing in the F4F preemptively. Unfortunately my F4F misses, the Roland hits, but the Fliegerfaust finishes the job there, which was really nice. Second Su-17, going to take a big hit as well. My F4F in the meantime does get shot down by the Igla and the Strela 10M, so a little bit unfortunate for my F4F considering these do have 30% ECM. We're going to be using a second to strafe the Motorradwerke. Igla's going to hit it again, so I'm going to have to pull that away. Ends up evacing the wrong direction, even though I purposefully pulled it to the right first of all. A little bit worried that's going to get shot down, but we'll have to wait and see. Strela trying to aim, gets a shot off, just out in time. Anyway, Jaeger now have a good opportunity to push up on this right hand side, so that's really nice. In a really good position here. Notice that, you know, I'd killed his Spetsnazradwerke. I'm going to be killing his Motorradwerke as well. The Apache survived, so I'm going to be getting that fixed up on the backside here. And so I'm pretty happy with the early trades. And that is basically how this whole engagement is going to have to go. I'm going to have to try and just find value throughout the game to the point where I can make a solid push against my opponent by building up Leopard 2A3s, building up Leopard 2A4s, etc. So Jaeger's now pushing through. We'll find a Motorradwerke eventually. We'll find the Igla there, which is great. Milan's going to be covering the open, forcing his TAT-BV to fall back. Jaeger Aufklärer are struggling against the 30mm grenade launcher and the TAT-BV. I was just trying to get them out of line of sight of the TAT-BV, but they're just constantly being fired at. So what I'm going to eventually do is put them into a position between these buildings where they can hide from the line of sight of the 30mm and the TAT while still providing recon on the right hand side. So I'm going to be seeing the 2AG here, the BMP-2AG, coming in to help support. Jaegers did finish off the recon at least, so that was good. And we were trying to kill off the Igla, but the Metis squad with the BMP-2AG are going to be covering that off as well. So meanwhile on the left-hand side, you can see I am pushing up with some Panzergrens. I've got my two Marders here. My Leopard 1A5 got hit by an 80 so that had to fall back. And I'm bringing up a plenty of recon just to make sure that I can see what I'm firing at potentially. Phone should be out on the left-hand side just to make sure that Meddi doesn't pull off any of his weird CV flanking maneuvers and capture Papa on the backside. That would be really, really frustrating. But he has managed to get his BMP-2K into this tree line, and there isn't really going to be much I'm able to do about that at the moment. His Conkers M and his TAT-BV, really, really difficult for me to deal with. The Conkers M is the upgraded Conkers with the 23 penetration. So the Leopards are kind of going to take a lot of damage, basically, if I go into any sort of engagement with them. And I'm also not going to be able to see them very easily, even with recon. And my recon at the moment currently being put under a lot of pressure here, so not ideal. But nice snipe here. Free kill onto a Strela 10M3, which is really, really nice. Taking out those AA pieces is really important because these are not radar, so I can't deal with them with seed. But they have 60% accuracy, so really scary to fly over with your aircraft. And taking one out is going to leave this right side vulnerable to any potential airstrikes. The difficulty that I have is that my tornadoes with the cluster are not ideal for killing things on their own because they drop their bombs quite spread out. So if I wanted to, for example, hit this BMP-2K or the TAT-BV here, it would create like a long line of cluster, and it's great for chipping the health and lowering the cohesion of enemy tanks, but you need to then like back it up with your own tanks. And currently just having a Leopard 1A5 here or two Leopard 1A5 here is not really gonna cut it. You know, the TAT-BV is way too strong. So I'm going to have to bring in some like more heavy tanks myself. So I've got Leopard 2A3, but you can see just how far it's got to go. The other reason that I was reacting on this right hand side is because I saw these 3 BMP-2AGs drive past. You can see that I do have line of sight on that road. So I spotted those reinforcements coming in. And so I've got to get something here to try and head that off. On the left hand side, I'm making a little bit of a play, moving up with the Jaegers. I notice his defense is going to be, well, pretty slim here. Like, if he's investing this much into the right-hand side, the likelihood is, on the left, there isn't going to be as much there. So I'm moving up with the Panzergrens, I'm moving up with the Jaeger and the Jaeger Auftada. Marder 1A3s in support. Got 2 more Marder 1A3s moving up. Leopard 2A3, Leopard 1A5 there, waiting to support on the right hand side. I probably should have had them already moving up on the left hand side there, because it would have been able to help me kill these quicker. The big problem for me right now is all these like random HGMs flying in from the BMP2s. I couldn't actually see these because I made a big mistake in this map of not putting like a Fernspeer or like a GSR unit with extra optics into the tower. It would have really helped me spot all of these vehicles, but instead you can see my Leopard's not even really able to react properly, and only after the BMP2 fired its second HGM was my Milan 2 able to fire back. So having a little bit of trouble there. Meanwhile, on the right hand side, BMP2AGs everywhere is going to make it really, really difficult for my 1A5s to hit the mark, because I'm constantly having to like micro them out of position. Now static accuracy on these is 60%, but they weren't really hitting for me, so that was unfortunate. Igler's going to shoot down my Alouette, so I'm going to lose recon on the right-hand side. And you can see I've just got 2 Fliegerfaust there that are defending. The amount of units that he brought in here was really starting to get the better of me. So my right side very vulnerable right now, but I'm really hoping to capitalize on the left-hand side at least. So I've got the Otis-Führungs moving up. We've got the Panzergrens with the Marders moving up with the 2A3, trying to back up the units that are already in position here. Unfortunately, I did lose both of my Panzergrens that I brought in originally to the Mi-24V because I didn't have the Fliegerfaust move up with me, which is my bad. These Fliegerfaust really should have like followed me up as I made this push with the infantry, because it was inevitable that he was going to bring in these helicopters. The helicopters that I was so worried about at the beginning of the game, and the complete reason that I brought in the Fliegerfaust in the first place. So yeah, not having them with me, big mistake. Anyway, Leopard 2A3 going to take out one of the 2AGs, but the Jaeger there going to be taken down to 1 man and forced back. Su-17 coming in with the rocket strike. A little bit frustrating for my Leopard to deal with because it does lower the cohesion. But the Roland 3 hoping to get a shot on target, unfortunately misses both times. Meanwhile, on the right hand side you can see I am kind of evacing with the Roland 3, but I don't want to move them too far away because I have brought in the 2A3, the Leopard 2A3 here. But once again, another miss on the first shot there from the Leopard 2A3 with 60% accuracy. Going to be difficult for me to deal with. These HGMs that come in from the 2AGs, if they hit me enough, they lower cohesion, then they lower the accuracy, and then I'm having a bad time. So managed to at least go to the left side of the smoke and pick one off, which was nice, but of course he's still got his infantry here. That is a problem. Meanwhile, on the left hand side, still trying to make some ground, but the helicopters did do a lot of damage. I did manage to shoot down the Mi-24K there, so I was happy with that because the Fliegerfaust finally joined me, but it's kind of too late because my Marders are dead, the Jaeger Auftada are having a really bad time, and the 2A3 is really struggling to get into line of sight of the enemy APCs with all of the HGMs flying around. So that was really, really tough for me to deal with. I have a Leopard 1A5 here that was trying to creep into the center sector. Really kind of poor judgment on my part to bring that in. Ends up getting killed off by the T-80BV. I knew that the 2 T-80s were there, so there was no reason for my 1A5 leader to be in that position. You can also see that I'm bringing up a Leopard 2A3 here that's going to maybe try and push into Echo and contest that. So maybe just getting a little bit too sort of over-invested into getting CVs into sectors when I should ideally at this point be consolidating my forces and pretty much creating solid pushes that can get rid of my opponent. But you can see on the left hand side things have really gone badly. My 2A3 ended up dying. The Marders are all dead, the Panzergrens are dead, and honestly, it was really weird because there wasn't really that much here. You know, it was just the BMP-2 AGs and then the Motorstrelkis with their Metis, and for some reason I was just like losing my infantry really fast. But I think it's just because, like I said, they weren't supported properly. I lost a couple to the helicopters before I got my Fliegerfaust in position. Everything about my push on the left-hand side was just a bit disjointed. On the right-hand side, he's just like completely developed this position. And there's not really going to be much I can do about pushing that back. So at this point, these Jaegers should probably just drive to the left side of the map. And we should be trying to focus on these two sectors here. All the while, my support units in the center are slowly getting picked apart. The Fliegerfaust that I brought in on the right hand side pretty much did nothing for me throughout this entire game. Complete waste of points for me to invest in at the start, but as I mentioned, that Mi-24K can be an absolute beast. So yeah, not ideal. Anyway, Su-17 now coming in, going to rocket the Fliegerfaust directly, ends up killing them off. Now I think Meddi in that situation actually targeted the Iltis, but it ended up like actually hitting the location of the man-pads as well. I end up shooting down the Su-17 and keep my Apache alive again, which is good, but losing those two squads there was not ideal. Anyway, going to be making a little bit of a push here. You can see I've got a Leopard 2A3 leader with a normal Leopard 2A3. We've got the Leopard 1A5. We've got the Roland 3s supporting that. So just going to be trying to get into the center sector. The difficulty here is that I cannot really hold on to this position too easily, and he's now got a T-80 BVK heading the opposite direction. On this right hand side, the BMP-2s move up. The Recon BMP-2 moving ahead does spot one of my Roland 3s. My bad really for keeping them in that position. At this point what I decide to do is try and run away with the Jaegers as well, but then I opt to send one back to try and take the attention away from the BMP-2 while the Roland 3 escapes. The trouble at this point is the Roland 3 is getting really low on fuel, so it's in a really tough position there. But Eagle goes down. Now the T-80B going to be engaging me from a distance. Trouble is, this squad was not dead yet, and you'll see that this AT squad starts firing at me, and it's really low on health, but because the motorized Vertigo are in the same building, they're sponging all of the damage that would otherwise be put onto this unit with the RPG-29. So, unfortunate little bit of a game-breaking bug there that really needs to be fixed at some point. That really kind of like messed up my push here, because I should have just been able to shoot that one particular unit and everything would have been fine. Anyway, Conquers M here, going to be picking off my Leopard 1A5, just a miss micro, didn't fall it back in time. But while this is going on, two T-80s now coming in from the left, two T-80s coming in from the right, and you can see that the disparity in kills and losses in this game really starting to add up and cause me issues. So Jaeger's moving up on the left-hand side here just to try and get another push going, but side shot comes in from the T-80 BVK, takes out my leader. This 2A3 just trying to retreat is not going too well, and at this point you can see the unit disparity on the map. I decide to throw in the towel. The 2,725 kills to 1,340 losses for Meddi. Honestly, pretty disappointing performance on my side. There wasn't really much to it other than I just played worse than he did. Like, props to him for just like playing it really well. I kind of completely messed up my push on the left hand side. If I'd managed to control my push on the left hand side better, got Fernspear into the high-rise building, things would have been way easier for me on that left hand side. And they probably would have been able to control the left-hand side like he did the right-hand side. The other thing that I probably should have done is, when I realized that I wouldn't be able to hold the right-hand side, is just get all of my resources away from the area, leave like units that can just ambush, and then focus more in the mid and the left-hand side. That would have been really the way to play it, because I saw the BMP-2 AGs coming around the right-hand side, and I just don't think I reacted appropriately to it. The difficulty with the airport dual map is it is so big that your reinforcements take a really long time to get to the front line. So when I noticed that push, and it's so close to my front line already, my resources should be going elsewhere. I shouldn't really send the 2A3 over to that right-hand side at that point, because it's just going to be left alone in the open after everything else is already dead, which is exactly what happened. It's like that classic situation in like old school medieval warfare where you want to try and split your opponents, and then by the time the reinforcements arrive, the main army that was you were originally attacking is already dead, and then you can just go and kill the second army completely as well. That's basically what happened to my 2A3 on the right hand side. So yeah, it was really, really rough. My 2A3 on the right hand side did also get like killed. I don't think I showed it, but I think it got side shot by an RPG-27, which is like the high penetration Motostrelki unit that the 27th guards get. So yeah, a rough one, really, really rough one to get started with in the Warno League, but solid game by Meddi. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.